Hello everyone, watch this review here with a look at the DC Universe Classics Darkseid, the Collect and Connect from Wave 12. A somewhat, I guess, less than spectacular wave. Darkseid, of course, does kind of make up for it. I mean, at times you have to wonder if they do leave the cooler characters for some of the less oppressive waves, just to try to sell some of the less spectacular characters. Now, this isn't the first time that Darkseid's been available through one of these lines. He was previously in the DC Superheroes series, but that was a much smaller figure. I know a few people complained just because they didn't like the whole size difference. Let's toss in Superman here. I mean, personally, I did like the whole height comparison because, Darkseid was just a bit bigger than Superman. This is the Wave 6 recovery suit variant Superman. So, I mean, yeah, it kind of works, but, some people did want a much larger Darkseid just because he'd scale better with the Calabac they released, also in Wave 6, the Collect and Connect. I mean, otherwise, Darkseid isn't even as tall as his boy there. I mean, given that the character has been drawn a few different ways, and, the size kind of does vary panel to panel, it is understandable that, either one could work for any given display. And both figures definitely have their merits. I feel that the sculpt is a lot nicer on the Collect and Connect, especially where the head/face is concerned. It's just got a nicer look to it. But the paint is far, far cooler on this version because they go into a lot more shadowing, a lot more in depth and everything. But, they didn't give him ab articulation, and he's kind of hunched at a weird angle. So, I mean, that's just one small issue. Now, on both of these, they, instead of having the sort of traditional double joint at the leg, they actually have ball joints underneath the skirt. I guess they do this for kind of all the... I'm not sure if they've actually done it for a lot of the skirted characters, but I believe that's probably... you might have. And just for that reason that you wouldn't be able to see it anyway. And you really can't see it on the Superheroes version, but it's a lot more noticeable in this one because you can just pop out one of his legs if you wanted to, or pull back the skirt a little bit and wham, ball jointed hip. Other than that, sort of similar because there's not a whole lot to their costume. As to which is the better version, I would be sort of leaning just more towards the Collect and Connect, but at the same time I do have to give a nod to another special guy, the Superpowers version, which can not only swing its arms, but also has light piping for the eyes. And originally came with a cloak, which you don't so much see with Darkseid anymore. The other sort of interesting thing, just from a general design standpoint, is how they scaled the head on the Superheroes version, where he's got a smaller head, or really the same sort of sized heads that you'd see on other figures, just to convey that the actual size was in the body itself. It's not like he was proportionately bigger all across, whereas, the head is more proportionate to the rest of the body with the Collect and Connect. Now, the Collect and Connect came with an alternate hand for the, shoot, I forget what the power glove is called, but it looks kind of like an infinity gauntlet, doesn't it? And in one of those rare examples, you can just pop out the hand and interchange this, which is something you really don't see on the DC Universe Classics line, like, ever. And voila. Kind of cool. Of course, I do prefer the other hand for symmetry, and just because I don't really think I've seen the character with this other one. You will notice that this is an open hand. It's because the character can hold his father box. The mother box is the other culture's ones from the New Gods. I always forget the other planet. Apocalypse is just a cooler, easier to remember name. And it just sort of fits in his hand somehow. I'm actually not sure how it even fits, but it's the device that he uses to generate his boom tubes. Intergalactic wormholes or whatever. Now, in terms of articulation, I'm just going to quickly run through this before I forget. We have a point of rotation here at the forearm underneath the glove, which is pretty well hidden. Single pin joint here at the elbow. Ball and socket. Shoulder joint, good range of motion. Again, because of the way that this costume looks, you can't so much see the joint here at the shoulder, which is really cool. Now the head's on a physical ball, and you could just pop it off to see. I don't want to pop it off anyway. It doesn't seem to want to come off, but you can look up a sort of fair deal, but then you can also look down. And a character this size is more likely to be looking down than up anyway. Now we have I thought we had a point of rotation at the waist, but I can't seem to get it. And yes, the father box just fell. Oh, sorry. The point isn't actually at the waist, it's at the groin level where you put the lower torso piece in, so you can turn around. Then we have a soft rubbery skirt. It's a lot softer than the other one. And the way that it's cut allows greater movement, whereas this wasn't actually cut down to the bottom. So you get a sort of a lot more poses from this. It also looks like the material moves at more natural angles and stuff. Though, you know, he's still a guy wearing a skirt, or actually technically it's a tunic because it's all just one piece going across. The belt makes it look like there's a separation. Down at the hip we have a ball socket, so it does all the normal ball jointed moves in addition to also being able to rotate. The sort of neat thing is we'll have an additional point of rotation right here behind the boot, which is something you really don't see very often with these figures. Just because you either get just one point of rotation up here or whatever. Now, of course, the heavy design here does impede that. Then down here at the ankle we have a pin joint, then a small amount of pivot. So I mean, articulation-wise, definitely pretty impressive, and especially where, as you're looking at this, and a lot of the joints aren't immediately visible. I completely neglected to mention the fact he has a ab crunch as well, which you can't see so much just because of the way that it's sculpted and the way that the belt design sort of, you know, draws your attention from it. In terms of paint detailing, you will notice that it's mostly solid colors. I mean, it sort of goes a little bit off here on the boots where you have some shadowing and stuff. And then in the back you'll notice some very light shadowing for some portions, but for the most part, fairly plain. Gloves again, a little bit of shadowing. I mean, I'm not really criticizing that or anything. I mean, I think it works for the figure. Although, all the same, if you do go back and look at the superheroes version, you just kind of have to wonder if they had applied a bit more shadowing, if the muscles would have a lot more pop and definition than they do right here. So I mean, this does look like a much brawnier character just for the heavy amount of shadowing and the way that they sort of pushed his pecs out a bit. But yeah, I'll probably review him separately at some point. All in all, you know, this is definitely one of the coolest collecting connects released so far, if not the coolest. Really no complaints about him either. I mean, pretty much literally none, so yeah, that says a lot. And one complaint I might think of right now is just the fact I can't get the stupid father box to stay on, but I think I accidentally put it on going the wrong direction. So yeah, this has been a look at Darkseid, the Collect and Connect from Wave 12 of the DC Universe Classics. Definitely a very impressive figure, and a lot more accessible now that quite a few of the characters from the line do seem to just be going on clearance here and there. So that means one of those characters you can sort of assemble cheaper if you do want them. But yeah, until next time, folks.